Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking Consumed by Wall Street Journal reporter Saabira Chaudhuri. And our mission here is to pinpoint the exact moment our culture shifted from, reuse to disposable.
Right, because it was actually a highly calculated survival strategy. It wasn't just an accident.
Exactly. And we've got a lot of fascinating sources today that point to this one specific boat in 1987, the Mobro 4000.
Oh, the wandering garbage barge. I mean, it's an incredible story. You had something like 3,100 tons of New York trash floating down the Atlantic coast.
Getting rejected by North Carolina and Mexico and,
Even Belize.
yeah, just rotting at sea for months.
Right, and the whole world was watching this barge, realizing we literally have nowhere to put this stuff. And that realization terrified the plastics industry.
Because if the public turned against packaging, their whole business model is just dead in the water.
Completely dead. And this is where the book gets wild. The industry pivot wasn't a reaction. It was premeditated, like decades earlier.
Yes. I was digging through the notes on Lloyd Stauffer. He was the editor of Modern Plastics magazine. In 1956, he explicitly told a conference of industry leaders that the future of plastics is in the trash can.
It sounds like a villain's monologue.
It really does.
But economically, I mean, it made sense. In the 50s, plastic was actually too good. It was durable. Housewives were washing and reusing plastic containers just like they did with glass or cloth.
Right. And Stauffer's argument was basically, you have to break that habit if you want to sell billions of units.
Yeah.
You have to teach the consumer that plastic is worthless the second it's empty.
And it worked perfectly. By the early 60s, he was celebrating that they were finally filling the trash cans. But then the Mobro incident happens later, and that celebration turns into a massive liability.
People wanted bans.
Exactly. So the industry needed a shield, and that shield was recycling. The book highlights how they promoted recycling not to actually solve the waste problem, but to inoculate consumers against guilt.
Which brings us to the chasing arrows symbol. The little triangle on the bottom of a container. I always assumed that meant a product is recyclable. But Chaudhuri actually points out how the industry basically weaponized our confusion there.
Yeah, that symbol is often just a resin identification code. It just tells a sorting facility that a bottle is made of PET or HDPE.
It doesn't actually mean your local facility can process it.
Precisely. It was just a brilliant move to calm the public without actually closing the loop.
Though the calm didn't last forever, like with the McToxic campaign, where kids mailed thousands of foam clamshells back to McDonald's.
That was one of those rare moments where public pressure forced a corporation to back down. But that pushback in the West is actually the crucial link to what happened next.
Right, because big brands like Unilever and P&G needed new territory. They looked to the global south.
Which leads us to the sachet economy in India. They couldn't sell full-size bottles to low-income consumers, so they sold access through these penny sachets.
And they completely dismantled a culture of reuse in the process. People were using glass bottles and steel tiffins, and suddenly they're flooded with multi-layered, unrecyclable plastic packets.
And the distribution model is the real kicker here, Project Shakti.
Oh yeah, where they hired local women to sell door to door.
Right, they called them Shakti Ammas. It was marketed as female empowerment, giving them a livelihood.
But the book argues it was really just a way to bypass the lack of retail infrastructure.
Exactly, and flood villages with plastic. Villages that had literally zero waste collection systems.
So you hook a population on disposability under the guise of access, but leave them drowning in wrapper waste.
It created a crisis where there wasn't one before. It totally inverts the polluter pays principle.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, if you buy a cucumber wrapped in plastic, you aren't just buying a vegetable. You are paying a premium to subsidize the manufacturer's waste disposal.
You pay for the wrap, and then you pay again through your local taxes or fees to have that wrap hauled away.
And with plastic production forecast to triple by 2060, that subsidy is only going to get more expensive for all of us.
It leaves us with a heavy question. If the system is designed to make us buy things we throw away immediately, are we the customers or are we the product?
That is a little existential dread to carry you through your next grocery run. But consider this on your way to the store. If this plastic is intentionally designed to never fully break down, what happens when the microplastics from all these endless disposables eventually end up inside our own bloodstreams?
That is definitely something to think about.
Absolutely. That is it for this deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.